Struggling single mom saw her first love at an airport, not knowing he was now a millionaire CEO. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. At 6 in the morning, the departure hall of St. Louis International Airport glowed under the white fluorescent lights. The air was thick with the scent of coffee, jet fuel, and early morning exhaustion. Through the glass panels, planes taxied slowly across the damp runway. Their blinking lights reflected like tiny stars on the wet asphalt. Maya Thompson tightened the strap of her medical bag and hurried down the corridor. She had been an airport paramedic for 2 years, always the first to arrive and the last to leave. Her Navy uniform was clean but faded, and her sneakers carried the marks of too many double shifts. Inside her pocket, her son's crayon drawing a stick figure family under a bright yellow sun was folded neatly, her quiet source of strength. Emergency in the VIP lounge, the radio crackled in her earpiece. Maya responded instantly, pushing her cart toward Gate 31. When she arrived, a small crowd had gathered near the glass wall. A man lay on the polished floor, unconscious, a spilled cup of coffee beside his hand. "Please step back," she said, kneeling beside him. Her voice was calm, professional. She checked his pulse, steady but weak. His skin was cold. The smell of espresso lingered on his shirt. "Sir, can you hear me?" No response. She adjusted his collar to open the airway. Her hands froze. The face beneath her fingertips looked hauntingly familiar, sharp jawline, faint scar near the eyebrow, lips she once knew by heart. It could not be. After 7 long years, fate could not be this cruel. Her heart pounded, echoing against the sterile walls. She whispered his name before she could stop herself. "Ethan?" The man's eyelids fluttered, his voice barely a breath. "Maya?" Her throat tightened. The world seemed to shrink to the sound of his voice, that single word cutting through time. But this man looked different, his hair slightly grayer, his suit far too expensive, his wristwatch gleaming silver under the airport light. A security officer approached. "Ma'am, the passenger's identification shows he is Ethan Reed, Chief Executive Officer of Skylux Group." Maya felt the ground tilt beneath her. Chief Executive Officer, Millionaire. The man she once loved and lost. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to stay focused. "He is having a syncope episode. Help me lift him." They moved him carefully onto a stretcher. As the wheels rolled toward the private medical suite, Maya walked beside him, her hand steady on the metal frame, though her heart was trembling. She remembered the last time she had seen him college graduation night, when he had promised to come back. He never did. She had waited for months before realizing promises do not pay rent or raise a child. The monitor beeped softly as they entered the examination room. The sound echoed in the sterile quiet. Maya adjusted his oxygen mask, her reflection faint in the glass cabinet behind him. He stirred, eyes half open, voice rough. "Where am I?" "You are safe," she said softly. "You are at St. Louis International Airport Medical Wing. You fainted." He blinked slowly, his gaze searching her face as if trying to remember where he had seen her before. "Do I know you?" he asked. Maya hesitated, the weight of 7 silent years pressing down on her. "No," she said finally, her voice a whisper. "You do not." But her trembling hands betrayed her heart. She turned away, hiding the tears that blurred the sterile white world around her, unaware that fate had just opened the first door to the healing neither of them knew they needed. The steady hum of the heart monitor filled the quiet medical room inside St. Louis International Airport. Maya sat on the stool beside the hospital bed, her hands folded, eyes fixed on the man who once broke her heart. Ethan Reed, Chief Executive Officer of Skylux Group. The title still sounded unreal when she whispered it in her mind. It had been 3 hours since he fainted. The airport's medical team had already called his company, and someone from his security department was on the way. Maya had finished her report and should have gone home, but she could not bring herself to leave. She told herself she was just watching his vitals, but deep down, she knew the truth. It was unfinished business, 7 years of silence breathing in the same room again. Ethan stirred slightly, his eyelids fluttering against the harsh light. "Water," he murmured. Maya poured a small cup, slipped an arm behind his shoulders, and helped him sit up. His hand brushed hers by accident, and the contact sent a strange, familiar warmth through her chest. He drank slowly, then looked at her. "You are the paramedic, right? You helped me at the gate." "Yes," she said softly. "You collapsed. Low blood pressure, maybe exhaustion." He frowned, rubbing his temples. "I was flying in from Tokyo. Meetings, no rest. Guess my body finally gave up." Maya nodded, checking the monitor. "You should take it easy. Overworking can do that." "Oh." He looked at her again, studying her face as if it carried a piece of a puzzle he had lost. "You look familiar," he said quietly. "Did we meet before?" Her throat went dry. "Airports see a lot of faces. Maybe you saw mine somewhere else." "Maybe," he said, though his voice carried doubt. The door opened, and a man in a black suit entered. "Sir, your car is ready. The press is already outside." Maya stepped back as Ethan tried to stand. He swayed slightly, and she caught his arm out of reflex. "You are not ready to walk," she said, steadying him. He looked down at her hand on his sleeve. "Thank you, Miss Thompson," she answered. "Maya Thompson." For a heartbeat, something flickered in his eyes, a ghost of memory, but then it vanished. He let go of her hand. "Thank you, Miss Thompson." When they left, the room felt colder. Maya exhaled, pressing a hand to her chest. She told herself it was over. He was gone again, like before. But fate had other plans. 2 days later, at the airport cafeteria, she was pouring herself a cup of black coffee when a voice behind her said, "You take it without sugar. You always did." Her fingers froze. She turned slowly. Ethan stood there, no suit this time, just a gray sweater and a baseball cap pulled low. He looked tired, almost human. "I came to thank you," he said, smiling faintly. "You saved me, and you did not even wait to hear the words." "Oh, you do not owe me anything," Maya said quickly. "It is my job." "I read your report," he continued, ignoring her resistance. "You stayed longer than required. Most people would have gone home." "I had time to spare," she lied. In truth, she had missed her bus and walked an extra mile home that night. Ethan studied her face again. "There is something about you," he said slowly. "When I woke up, I heard your voice. It felt safe." Maya's lips parted, but no sound came out. The noise of rolling suitcases and boarding calls filled the silence between them. He smiled gently. "I do not know why, but I would like to see you again. Maybe coffee? Somewhere that is not an airport?" She hesitated. Her mind screamed no, but her heart whispered maybe. "I'm not sure that is a good idea," she said at last. "You are a busy man, Mr. Reed." "Busy men make time for things that matter," he replied. "I owe you that much." "Oh." She looked away, trying to hide the trembling in her hands. "All right," she said softly. "1 cup of coffee, that is all." Ethan's smile deepened, gentle but sure. "Then it is a promise." As he walked away, Maya's reflection caught in the glass window beside her. Behind the uniform and the exhaustion, a faint light returned to her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt something stir inside a tiny spark of warmth that she did not dare call hope yet. But it was there, and it was alive. The following week unfolded like a quiet rhythm, the kind that seeps into ordinary days without warning. Maya went back to her routine at St. Louis International Airport, checking emergency kits, responding to minor injuries, and rushing to gates when someone fainted or panicked before a flight. Life was predictable again, until Ethan Reed began showing up. At first, he appeared with excuses that sounded casual. A forgotten jacket, a follow-up health check, a meeting delayed near the medical wing. But Maya knew better. The way he smiled when their eyes met, the way he remembered how she liked her coffee black, no sugar, it was too deliberate to be coincidence. On the third visit, he brought a small paper bag. "For Leo," he said, handing it to her. Inside was a miniature airplane made of polished wood, its wings engraved with the words, "Dream Higher." Maya's heart twisted. "You should not have," she said, though her fingers lingered on the little plane. "You do not even know him." "I know he is the reason you work 2 shifts," Ethan said quietly. You mentioned him that night, when you thought I was asleep. Her face warmed. You were supposed to be unconscious. I was, he said with a faint smile. But somehow your voice kept pulling me back. The honesty in his tone unsettled her. She turned away, pretending to check the monitors. You cannot keep coming here, Mr. Reed. Someone will think I am giving special treatment. Maybe you are, he teased, his voice low. Or maybe I am just too stubborn to stay away. Maya shook her head, but a smile escaped before she could stop it. You always were, she said. That evening, as she walked home, the city lights blurred through the drizzle. She opened the paper bag again, running her thumb over the carved letters. Dream higher. The words echoed in her chest, stirring the same ache she had buried years ago, the dream she gave up when Ethan left, and she found herself raising a baby alone. 2 days later, fate stepped in again. A severe thunderstorm grounded flights, and the airport filled with restless passengers. Maya's team worked overtime, treating headaches and panic attacks. Around midnight, as she returned to the empty lounge, she saw a familiar figure sitting near the window, staring at the storm. Long day? She asked gently. Ethan looked up, surprised. You are still here? Someone has to make sure people do not pass out, she said, walking closer. What about you? My flight got delayed. Seems the universe does not want me to leave yet. They shared a quiet laugh. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the exhaustion on both their faces. He gestured to the chair beside him. Sit with me, just for a moment. Maya hesitated. Then Saturday, the hum of the rain filled the silence between them. After a while, he spoke, voice softer than the thunder. When I first woke up in that medical room, I did not remember my life. My name, my company, none of it mattered. But I remembered a feeling. Warm, safe, like home. I think it was you. Her breath caught. She wanted to look away, but his eyes held her still. Ethan, whatever we had, it ended years ago, she whispered. We are not those people anymore. Maybe, he said, but if I am supposed to rebuild my life, I want to start where it felt right. Maya swallowed the lump in her throat. You do not know what you are asking. You are a chief executive officer. I am just... You are not just anything, he interrupted softly. You are the reason I opened my eyes. For a moment, time stood still. The rain eased into a steady rhythm against the glass. Maya's hand trembled slightly as she reached for the coffee cup between them, her fingers brushing his. Electricity sparked through that small contact, quiet but undeniable. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. You should rest, Mr. Reed. Tomorrow will be another long day. He nodded, though his gaze did not leave hers. Then promise me one thing, he said. Do not disappear again. Maya did not answer. She simply stood, adjusting the strap of her bag. As she walked away, her reflection lingered beside his in the window, a single moment suspended in the stormlight. Outside, the thunder rolled away, leaving only the sound of rain, like the heartbeat of something slowly waking after too many years of silence. The following morning, the storm had passed, leaving a soft golden light across the runways of St. Louis International Airport. The air smelled clean, almost hopeful. Maya arrived early, as usual, her hair tied neatly, her uniform freshly pressed. But something inside her was different. She tried to convince herself that the quiet conversation with Ethan had meant nothing, that it was just an emotional night and nothing more. Still, every sound in the terminal seemed to echo his voice. Every cup of black coffee reminded her of the one she had shared with him. By noon, the airport returned to its usual chaos. Passengers hurried through security lines, announcements echoed, and her radio buzzed nonstop. When the call came for an injured traveler at the VIP area, Maya hurried to respond. She stopped short when she saw who it was. Ethan stood near the escalator, wincing as he held his side. Before you ask, no, I did not faint again, he said with a crooked smile. Just a pulled muscle. I was helping one of my assistants carry equipment. Maya folded her arms. You are the chief executive officer of an airline company. You are not supposed to carry boxes. I guess I forgot that, he replied. I just wanted to feel useful again. She sighed and guided him to a seat. You need to rest, Mr. Reed. Let me take a look. As she checked the bruised area, the air between them thickened with an emotion she did not want to name. Ethan's voice softened. You have not changed, Maya. You still take care of everyone except yourself. Her hands stilled. And you still find ways to make trouble wherever you go. He laughed quietly, the sound warm enough to break her guard. Maybe trouble is my way of finding you. Later that evening, when her shift ended, Ethan waited near the exit. Dinner, he said simply. No boardrooms, no reporters. Just two people who used to share late-night ramen in a tiny apartment. She hesitated, but followed him to a small diner near the airport. The smell of grilled onions and coffee filled the air, so different from the sterile scent of hospital corridors. They sat by the window, and for the first time in years, the tension between them eased into something gentler. I remember this place, Ethan said, looking around. You used to study here while I planned my first startup. You said the noise helped you focus. Maya smiled faintly. I said that to make you feel better. You were terrified of failing back then. And you believed in me when no one else did, he said quietly. Her eyes met his, and the years between them seemed to fade. For a brief moment they were young again, dreaming about a future that never came. The waitress placed 2 plates of food on the table. Ethan reached for his fork, then paused. I want to ask you something, he said. Would you consider coming to Skylux as part of our new wellness initiative? We are opening a health foundation for airport staff and frequent travelers. It could use someone like you, someone who actually cares. Maya blinked in surprise. You are offering me a job? I am offering you a chance, he said, for both of us. She studied him for a long moment. You think hiring me will fix what happened between us? He shook his head. No. I think it might help us understand what went wrong. Maya's heart wavered between reason and longing. Finally, she said, I will think about it. Fair enough, he said softly, but I will not stop asking. As she left the diner, the city lights shimmered on the wet pavement. Maya felt the weight of her choices pressing on her chest. She was no longer the girl who waited for him to come back. But she was also not the woman who could pretend she felt nothing. Somewhere deep inside, a fragile seed of hope had begun to grow again, and it terrified her as much as it warmed her heart. 3 weeks later, Maya found herself walking through the glass doors of the Skylux headquarters for the first time. The building towered above downtown St. Louis, its silver facade reflecting the morning light like a mirror. She had finally agreed to join the company's new health foundation on a trial basis, helping to design first aid programs for airport staff. She told herself it was just a job, nothing more. But deep down, she knew that working near Ethan again meant reopening a part of her heart she had fought hard to keep closed. Inside, the lobby buzzed with quiet efficiency. Assistants hurried between elevators, their voices low but urgent. Ethan met her at the reception area, dressed in a dark blue suit that matched his calm demeanor. You came, he said with a smile that reached his eyes. I said I would try, Maya replied, gripping the strap of her bag. Let us focus on the work, Mr. Reed. He nodded, though his gaze softened. Of course, work. He led her through the glass corridor toward the wellness wing. This floor will be dedicated to mental and physical health for our employees. You will oversee the training program. And I will make sure you have what you need. Maya paused near a window overlooking the city skyline. This is a big project. Why trust me with it? Because I know your kind of integrity, he said simply. You do not see patients as numbers. You see people. His words struck deeper than she expected. For the first time, she saw how exhaustion had left faint lines at the corners of his eyes. This was not the arrogant young man she once knew. This was someone who had carried too much, for too long. Over the following days, they worked side by side. Ethan attended meetings he did not need to, just to hear her present ideas. Maya tried to stay professional, but his presence filled every quiet space. When she spoke, he listened. When she laughed, he looked like he had found something he had lost. One evening after a long day, Ethan walked her to the elevator. You are doing incredible work, he said. The board is impressed. She smiled faintly. Good. Maybe that will stop the whispers about how I got the job. He frowned. What whispers? Some people think I am here because of you, she said quietly. They think I am your charity case. His expression darkened. That is nonsense. You earned this position. Still, she said, looking down. You should keep some distance from me at work. Maya, he said gently, I cannot pretend I do not care. Not anymore. Before she could answer, his phone buzzed sharply. He looked at the screen, his face tightening. I have to take this. She nodded, stepping back as he turned away. His tone dropped, low and serious. "No, I did not authorize that transfer. Who approved it?" When the call ended, he looked pale. "A financial discrepancy," he said, forcing a smile. "Nothing to worry about." But Maya saw the flicker of unease in his eyes. An instinct told her something was wrong. As he walked back toward his office, she stayed behind, staring after him. The warmth between them had begun to bloom, but now a chill crept into her chest. For the first time since their reunion, Maya felt a strange sense of foreboding. The light that had just started to return might soon face another storm, one darker than either of them expected. Within days, the warmth that had begun to grow between Maya and Ethan turned cold. The Health Foundation project suddenly halted, and a dark cloud settled over the company. Rumors spread quietly through the halls, accusations of missing funds, confidential reports leaked to the press. Maya noticed the way people's eyes followed Ethan as he passed, the way voices dropped to whispers when she entered the room. One evening, as she prepared to leave, Ethan's secretary stopped her. "Miss Thompson, Mr. Reed asked to see you in his office." She hesitated. "At this hour?" The woman nodded. "He said it is urgent." Maya walked down the dim corridor, her shoes clicking softly against the marble floor. The office door was half open. Inside, Ethan stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was tense, controlled. "I know what it looks like, but those transactions were not mine. Someone is using my authorization codes." He ended the call and turned toward her, his expression shadowed by exhaustion. "You heard, did you?" "I only caught a little," she said gently. "What is happening?" "There is an internal investigation," he said, his tone low. "Someone framed me for embezzlement. The documents lead straight to my account." Maya frowned. "That cannot be possible." "I wish the board believed that," Ethan said bitterly. "Nathan, my stepbrother, has been pushing for control of Skylux for years. Now he finally has an excuse." Maya stepped closer. "You need to tell the truth. Show them proof." "I am trying," he said. "But whoever did this covered their tracks well. Even the audit trail looks legitimate." As he spoke, his phone buzzed again. He glanced at the screen, his face tightening. "It is Nathan. He wants to meet." "Alone." Maya's instinct screamed danger. "Do not go alone, please. He has never wanted what is best for you." He gave a weary smile. "You sound just like you used to, always trying to protect me." "Someone has to," she said softly. "You have spent your life protecting everyone else." Ethan turned toward her, his voice quieter now. "When this is over, I need you to know I never meant to hurt you, Maya. Not 7 years ago, not now." Her heart clenched. "Then prove it. Fight back. Do not let him destroy everything you built." The next morning, chaos erupted. News channels aired footage of Ethan being escorted out of the Skylux building by security. "Chief Executive Officer under investigation for financial fraud," the headline screamed. Maya's phone buzzed nonstop with messages, half of them gossip, half of them pity. She rushed to the company gates, but the guards blocked her. "Employees are not allowed inside until further notice," one said. Maya's pulse pounded. Something was terribly wrong. Later that night, she received an anonymous email. The message contained only one line: "If you care about the truth, stop looking for Ethan, or you will regret it." Her hands trembled as she closed the laptop. Fear crawled up her spine, but it was not stronger than the determination in her heart. Someone had set him up, and she would not let the man she once loved and still cared for be buried under lies. As thunder rumbled outside her apartment window, Maya whispered to herself, "You saved me once, Ethan. Now it is my turn." She reached for her coat and stepped into the storm, unaware that the path to truth would test every ounce of courage she had left. Rain hammered against the windshield as Maya parked her old sedan in front of the Skylux warehouse district. The anonymous message still burned in her mind, but fear no longer controlled her. She had spent years surviving worse storms this time. She would fight back. Inside her coat pocket was a flash drive she had taken from the Foundation's office earlier that day. It contained security footage from the night the fraudulent transfer occurred. She had found it by accident while sorting archived files. What she saw made her heart stop. The timestamp showed Ethan's stepbrother, Nathan Reed, entering the restricted server room after hours. Now, she needed proof the board could not ignore. The warehouse was dimly lit, rows of boxes stacked like silent witnesses. She found the door marked Data Storage, its lock already broken. Inside, a row of computers glowed faintly. She connected the flash drive and began copying the evidence. The screen flickered, progress bar crawling forward. Suddenly, a voice behind her broke the silence. "You should not have come here, Maya." She froze. Nathan stepped from the shadows, his tailored coat slick with rain, his smile sharp as glass. "You think you can play detective?" he said coldly. "Do you know what happens to people who dig too deep?" Maya steadied her voice. "I know what you did. I saw the footage." He chuckled, low and cruel. "You saw what I wanted you to see. Ethan was a fool. But you," he paused, studying her with disdain. "You are dangerous because you still believe in him." She clenched her fists. "Because I know who he really is." Nathan stepped closer. "Then you should know this. If you release that data, it will not just ruin me, it will ruin him too. His name, his company, everything he ever worked for." Her heart pounded, but she did not back away. "Maybe it is time the truth ruined the right person." "Oh." Before he could respond, the door burst open. Ethan stood there, soaked from the rain, his eyes locked on Nathan. "Step away from her." Nathan smirked. "Still playing the hero, brother? You are already finished." Ethan moved between them, his voice steady. "No, Nathan, you are." He pulled out his phone, showing the live feed. "Security has been listening since you started talking." Nathan's expression faltered. The sound of sirens began to echo outside, growing louder by the second. As the police lights flashed through the broken window, Nathan glared at Maya. "You will regret this," he hissed, before two officers pulled him away. Ethan turned to her, breathing hard. "You should not have come here alone." Maya's hands trembled, but her voice stayed calm. "I could not let you lose everything for something you did not do." For a long moment, they stood in silence, the rain pounding the roof above them. Then Ethan reached out, brushing a strand of wet hair from her face. "You could have been hurt." She looked up at him, her voice breaking softly. "So could you. But you still came." He smiled faintly. "I had to. You are the only part of my life that ever felt real." Outside, the sirens faded into the distance. The warehouse lights flickered once, then steadied, as if the storm itself had finally begun to calm. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, letting relief wash through her. The truth was out, but the battle had left scars neither of them could hide. And yet, in that quiet space between danger and dawn, she realized something simple and powerful. He was safe, and so was she. 3 days after Nathan's arrest, the Skylux building felt different. The air that once carried tension now hummed with quiet relief. The news had spread quickly. Ethan Reed was cleared of all charges. The company released an official statement confirming his innocence, and the board reinstated him as chief executive officer. For Maya, the past few days felt like a blur. She had spent hours in police interviews, recounting every detail of what she had discovered. When it was finally over, she returned to her small apartment and slept for nearly an entire day. The weight that had pressed on her chest for weeks was finally gone. Still, part of her heart could not rest. She had not seen Ethan since that night at the warehouse. On the 4th morning, as she arrived at the foundation office, she found a single envelope waiting on her desk. Her name was written in Ethan's familiar handwriting. Inside was a handwritten note. "Meet me at the observation deck. There is something I need to say." Her heart skipped. When she reached the deck, the late afternoon sun painted the sky in shades of amber and rose. Planes lifted into the horizon, one after another, their wings glinting in the light. Ethan stood near the railing, wearing a simple gray sweater instead of his usual suit. For the first time, he looked like the man she used to know. "Maya," he said, turning toward her. "You came." She nodded. "You did not exactly give me a choice." He smiled faintly. "I did not want to send an email for this. I needed to see you." There was a pause, heavy but not uncomfortable. "I owe you my life," he said softly. "If it were not for you, I would have lost everything. My company, my name, my sense of what is right. You fought for me when I did not even believe in myself." Maya looked down at her hands. "You do not owe me anything, Ethan. I only did what anyone with a conscience would have done." That is the thing, he said, not everyone would. You did because that is who you are. He stepped closer, his voice trembling just slightly. When I was trapped in that hospital bed, I thought life was giving me a second chance. Now I know it was giving us one. Oh. Her eyes met his, the emotion in them raw and unguarded. Ethan, she began, but he shook his head gently. I am not asking for an answer, he said. I just want you to know whatever comes next. I want it to be real. No more running, no more pretending. The sunset spilled gold across the glass, wrapping them in warmth. Maya took a slow breath. Maybe we both needed to break before we could heal. He smiled. Then let us start with that. Healing. Oh, they stood side by side, watching a plane lift into the clouds, its engines echoing softly through the wind. For a moment, the world seemed to pause, the noise, the chaos, the pain, all replaced by quiet understanding. Maya felt something steady inside her again. Something she had not dared to feel for years. Hope. And as Ethan reached for her hand, she did not pull away. She let him hold it, their fingers interlacing against the fading light, as the sky turned the color of forgiveness. 1 year later, St. Louis International Airport looked brighter than ever. A new building had been added near the main terminal, its glass walls reflecting the morning sunlight. Above the entrance, a silver plaque read, Skylux Health Foundation, where every journey finds healing. Inside the grand hall, people gathered for the opening ceremony. Reporters, employees, and guests filled the seats, but Maya stood quietly near the front, holding a small folder of notes. She wore a light gray dress and a calm smile, the kind that came from peace, earned through storms. She looked toward the stage where Ethan was speaking, his voice steady and warm. This foundation exists because of one person's courage, he said. Someone who reminded me that healing is not about power or wealth, it is about compassion and perseverance. When the applause began, Ethan turned his gaze toward her. Maya Thompson, he said clearly, thank you for reminding us all what it means to care. The audience turned, and she felt her cheeks flush. She gave a small nod, her eyes shining. After the ceremony, children from the airport's community program handed out paper airplanes with handwritten messages of hope. Leo, now 7 years old, ran up to Maya, waving his. Mom, look, Mina says dream higher, love stronger. Maya knelt down, hugging him tightly. That is perfect, sweetheart. Oh. Ethan approached, his hands tucked in his pockets. He is growing fast, he said with a smile. Too fast, Maya replied. I can barely keep up. Ethan crouched beside Leo. Do you know who helped me design this place? Leo grinned proudly. Mom did. That is right, Ethan said, his voice gentle. Your mom built something that will help thousands of people. You should be proud. I already am, Leo said. Maya laughed softly, the sound blending with the chatter around them. For a brief moment, everything felt simple. No headlines, no fear, just life as it should be. As the crowd began to thin, Ethan led her toward the observation deck overlooking the runway, the same place where they had spoken months before. The evening sun cast a golden glow across the glass. He turned to her, his eyes filled with quiet certainty. I have spent years chasing success, he said. But standing here, I realized the only thing I ever wanted was peace. And I only found it when I found you. Maya blinked back tears. Ethan, he took a small box from his pocket and opened it. Inside was a simple silver ring. Maya Thompson, he said softly, will you marry me? Her breath caught. The sound of a departing flight echoed in the distance, the same familiar hum that had once marked their goodbye. Now it carried a new meaning. She smiled through her tears. Yes, she whispered. I will. Ahmet. Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger as applause erupted from the few who had followed them to the deck. Leo cheered, his paper airplane soaring into the orange sky. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Maya leaned her head against Ethan's shoulder. You know, she said, some flights are delayed for years. He smiled, kissing the top of her head. But the right ones always land exactly where they belong. Oh, the camera of time pulled back runway lights glittering, a mother, a son, and the man who once walked away now standing together in the warm afterglow of forgiveness. Healing had come full circle, and love, at last, had found its way home.